Why dark, chosen ones are the shadow builders of the new earth? There's a truth that most spiritual teachers won't tell you, not because they are keeping a secret, but because it terrifies even them. That truth is this: the most powerful builders of the new earth are not the ones in the spotlight, not the ones with angelic voices or polished teachings or million-dollar manifestations. They are the ones who were cast out, rejected, misunderstood, labeled as too much, too dark, too chaotic, or too intense. These are the people who didn't get a seat at the table of the old world because they were never meant to. They weren't here to integrate into the broken system. They were coded to rebuild it from the ashes. These are the dark chosen ones, and they're not who you think. We've been trained to associate spiritual power with light, with peace, with calm voices and gentle hands. But that's only one side of the truth. The other side, the hidden face of awakening, is forged in pain, in fire, in confrontation with the unconscious. The dark chosen ones are not born in temples, they are awakened in trauma. They are made in chaos. They are not initiated by lineage or priesthood, they are initiated by survival, by the sheer will to keep breathing when everything around them has collapsed. These are the ones who carry the codes of the new earth, not because they asked for them, but because they earned them through sweat, silence, and solitude.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You probably know one. You might be one. They don't look like the archetypal guru. They don't float on clouds or speak only in mantras. They laugh too loud. They cry in public. They carry a storm in their eyes. And beneath that storm is something ancient, something untamed and utterly true. They don't speak for approval. They speak because the words burn in their chest if they don't. They don't ask for followers. They walk alone, and yet everywhere they go, people begin to wake up because their frequency doesn't comfort you, it confronts you. These are the shadow builders, the ones who are not afraid to go into the places no one else will, into grief, shame, rage, ancestral trauma, systemic illusion, spiritual bypassing. They go into the wound not to wallow, but to extract the blueprint. Because they know the wound is where the map hides, the scar is where the new structure begins. The dark chosen ones are not here to escape the matrix. They're here to reverse engineer it, to dismantle it from the root, to expose the algorithms of oppression, not through theory, but through lived experience. And here's the thing, they don't do any of this for recognition. They do it because they have to, because when you've seen behind the veil, when you felt the weight of collective distortion pressing on your chest at 3 a.m., you stop caring about being liked. You stop caring about aesthetics. You stop pretending. You start speaking. You start building. You start living like your very existence is a form of protest, because it is. You see, the new earth isn't being built with light alone, it's being built with shadow, with the reclaimed pieces of humanity we were told to hide, the anger we suppressed, the grief we numbed, the wildness we medicated, the truth we silenced. The dark chosen ones are the alchemists of this age. They don't destroy, they transmute. They take the raw, messy, painful parts of existence and turn them into architecture. And that architecture is not made of stone or steel. It's made of frequency, of vibration, of coherent, embodied truth. Let me ask you something unsettling. What parts of yourself have you buried in the name of being good? What inner voices have you silenced because they didn't sound spiritual enough? What if those very parts, the ones you disowned, were the keys to your true power? This is where the dark chosen ones live, in the in-between, in the contradictions, in the places where light and shadow dance, not as enemies, but as co-creators. These beings have had to learn the hardest truth of all, that healing is not always beautiful, that awakening is not always gentle, that truth is not always sweet. Sometimes truth is a blade, and they have become that blade, not to cut others, but to cut through illusion. They are often alone, not because they want to be, but because the world doesn't know what to do with them. They don't fit into religion. They don't fit into mainstream spirituality. They challenge every system they walk into, and deep down they know why, because they are the system breakers, the frequency disruptors, the reality hackers, and their isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly in the spotlight, it becomes a butterfly in the dark, in the cocoon, in the silence. So if you felt like your path has been harder than most, if you've watched others ascend into light while you were pulled into shadow, if you've lost everything again and again and still hear that voice whispering, "Keep going," then maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're not behind. Maybe you're not cursed. Maybe you're being built into something the old world cannot comprehend, built into something the new earth requires. You don't need to be understood right now. You need to remember. Remember why you came. Remember what lives inside you. Remember that darkness is not the absence of light, it is the womb of it. And when you remember, you stop asking for the path to be easy, you start asking for the strength to walk it. You stop asking for the pain to end, you start listening to it. Because the pain has instructions, the pain has codes, and the ones who can read them are the ones who will build what comes next. The dark chosen ones are not waiting for the new earth. They are already building it, quietly, relentlessly, in shadows, in whispers, in silence. And when the world finally breaks open and the old systems collapse, they will not be surprised. They will be ready. The pain that builds worlds, why suffering is the secret language of the dark chosen. There's a kind of pain that doesn't just break you, it rebuilds you. A kind of suffering that isn't random, but encoded. It carries messages, keys, and blueprints. Not the kind of pain that comes from petty drama or passing discomfort, but the deep soul-rattling ache that shows up when everything you thought you were is stripped away. This is the pain the dark chosen ones know intimately, the kind of pain that shows up not to punish, but to prepare. And unless you've walked through it, it's impossible to understand how pain can become a creative force. We've been taught to fear pain, to medicate it, suppress it, escape it. But the dark chosen ones learned early on that pain is not the enemy. Pain is the portal. They didn't have the luxury of bypassing it. They couldn't afford to numb it with spiritual platitudes. Their pain was too loud, too persistent, too sacred. So they did the one thing most people never dare to do. They listened to it. They sat with it. They asked it questions. And, over time, something miraculous happened. The pain started speaking back. It didn't speak in words. It spoke in visions, in downloads, in clarity that cut through every illusion. And through that clarity, they began to understand something most people spend lifetimes avoiding. Pain is a language of the soul. It's how the soul gets your attention when nothing else will. It's how your higher self says, "You are off the path. Come home." And if you're willing to feel it, if you're willing to stay with it, that pain becomes a teacher, not a cruel one, a precise one. For the dark chosen ones, pain becomes the curriculum. It teaches them to see what others can't, to hold space for what others run from, to transmute what others suppress. Because they've walked through the fire, they know how to guide others through it, not with theory, but with presence. You can't fake this kind of presence. You can't buy it. You earn it. Through nights when you don't know if you'll survive, through days when your body carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken traumas, through years of being unseen, unheard, unchosen, until one day you realize you were never being punished. You were being trained. Trained to feel when others go numb. Trained to speak when others stay silent. Trained to build when others collapse. This is why dark chosen ones are so rare, because most people run from the very thing that activates them. But you didn't run. You stayed. And because of that, you are now fluent in the secret language of the soul. You can speak to pain. You can hold it. You can walk into a room and feel what no one else is saying. You can look someone in the eye and see the wound behind the mask. That is not a curse. That is capacity. That is the builder's gift. Let me ask you something no one's ever dared to ask you. What if your suffering wasn't the thing that broke you, but the thing that birthed you? What if your deepest heartbreak was the moment your true mission was activated? What if your pain wasn't a detour, but the initiation? Most people wait for life to get easier before they show up. But the dark chosen ones, they show up because life is hard, not to fix it, not to save anyone, but to build something inside it, a new way, a new rhythm, a new vibration. They don't ask for the storm to stop, they become the eye of the storm, calm, clear, centered, not because they're unaffected, but because they've learnt to live through it. The new earth isn't being built with comfort, it's being built with capacity, with the kind of humans who can hold the weight of collapse without collapsing, who can sit with suffering without needing to fix it, who can witness the death of the old world without losing their vision for the new. And that kind of capacity doesn't come from books or retreats. It comes from pain, real, lived, embodied pain, the kind that humbles you, refines you, reveals you. And now here you are, still breathing, still standing, still listening to that quiet voice inside you that says, "You're not done yet." That voice is the seed of the new earth, and your pain, that was the soil it needed to grow in. So don't bury it, don't hide it, don't shame it, honor it, because every scar you carry is a doorway, and every doorway you've walked through has made you exactly what this world needs now, a builder. The blueprint hidden in the bones, how dark chosen ones resurrect ancient codes through their own lives. There's something buried deep inside you that no one taught you to access. It's not knowledge, it's not technique, it's not even belief. It's something older than all of that, something primordial, a memory that doesn't live in your mind but in your bones. And if you're a dark chosen one, you've probably felt it. Like a pressure just beneath your skin, a weight in your chest that isn't anxiety but remembrance. It doesn't speak with words. It pulls, it aches, it moves you toward things you can't explain. And when others ask you why you're doing what you're doing, you can't give them a clean answer, because the truth is, you're not following logic, you're following codes. These codes are ancient. They existed before language, before lineage, before the world got organized into religions and philosophies. They are the raw instructions of soul. And the reason you feel so different, so alien even, is because you didn't come here to download the current system. You came here to reboot it. You didn't come to fit into the world that's dying. You came to resurrect the world that's hidden, the world that lives not in the sky, but in the source field of your being. Every dark chosen one carries part of this map. Not all of it, just enough to activate their corner of the collective. And here's the twist. That map is encrypted in your life experiences, in your trauma, in your gifts, in your failures. The codes were never outside of you. They've been hiding in plain sight in your heartbreaks, your obsessions, your triggers, your quirks, your patterns. And when you start decoding them, you realize something shocking. Every single thing you thought disqualified you from being spiritual was actually proof of your mission. That addiction, a distorted attempt to access divine union. That rage, a sacred fire to burn through illusion. That isolation, a container to awaken sovereignty. That illness, a cellular reset to clear ancestral debris. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted. Everything you've lived has been preparing your nervous system to carry the frequency of a new architecture. Not the architecture of perfection, the architecture of embodied truth. And the moment you stop trying to be good or holy or enlightened and instead choose to be real, you start to transmit those codes, not with effort, just through existence. This is why your story matters, not because it's dramatic, but because it's coded. You are not just a person, you are a living blueprint, a breathing archive of divine intelligence that didn't come here to follow rules, but to remember design. And the design you carry cannot be taught in a course. It cannot be found in sacred texts. It can only be lived. And this is what makes the dark chosen ones so powerful. They don't need to convince anyone. Their life is the teaching. Let me ask you something that might unlock something. What if your entire life story is a map? What if the very things you've been running from, your deepest shame, your wildest dreams, your strangest instincts, are the exact coordinates of your assignment? What if the reason you never fit in is because you were never meant to? This is the quiet revolution. Not the loud one, not the one with banners and hashtags. The inner one. The one that happens when a dark chosen one stops outsourcing their power and starts living like the answer. The one that happens when you stop waiting for permission to be who you already are. The one that happens when you realize this isn't about becoming spiritual, it's about remembering the sacredness of being human. And when you do that, when you truly embody your pain, your power, your pattern, you start to feel it. The codes activate. They don't light up all at once. They flicker, they hum, they guide. You'll be drawn to certain places, to certain people, to strange ideas that make no sense but feel like home. Synchronicity becomes your compass. The body becomes your oracle. And the more you trust it, the more reality begins to bend. Not because you're manifesting from ego, but because You're aligning with your original instructions. These instructions don't make you special, they make you responsible. Because once you remember who you are, you can't pretend you don't know. You can't go back, you can't unsee. You are now a node in the grid of awakening, a pulse in the nervous system of the planet. And every choice you make either amplifies distortion or anchors the new earth. So let's be clear, you are not just healing, you are activating. You are not just awakening, you are reconstructing. You are not just surviving, you are resurrecting, a frequency that has been buried under centuries of noise. And the way you do that is not by escaping your humanity, it's by inhabiting it fully, with all its mess, all its beauty, all its contradictions. You don't need to be more spiritual, you need to be more you. Because the real you, the one behind the masks, behind the conditioning, behind the roles, isn't just part of the solution, it is the solution. You are the code, you are the bridge, you are the map, the builders of the invisible. Why dark chosen ones create the future without needing to be seen. There's a truth that haunts every dark chosen one, a sacred paradox they come to live out whether they like it or not. You are here to change the world, but the world may never know your name. You are not here for applause, you are not here for followers, you are not here to be understood. You are here to build in the unseen, to plant seeds so deep in the soil of consciousness that by the time they bloom, your fingerprints have already faded. And this is what makes you dangerous to the system, to illusion, to anything that depends on external validation to exist. We live in a world obsessed with visibility, with performance, with being watched, rated, shared, and seen. But the real builders of the new earth are not on center stage. They're not trending, they're not trying, they're tuning into something so real, so ancient, so unfakeable, that the world doesn't even have language for it yet. The dark, chosen ones are not here to go viral, they're here to go vertical, to anchor a frequency so high and so deep that it rewrites the grid from the inside out. They don't need credit because they know real power doesn't need recognition. Real power moves in silence. Real power doesn't announce itself, it radiates. And that radiation happens through the way you walk, the way you love, the way you hold space for someone's truth without needing to fix it, through the way you say no to systems that don't honor your soul, through the way you say yes to your own knowing, even when it costs you everything. This is the work of the invisible builders, the ones who walk into rooms and shift the energy without saying a word, the ones who see through lies in seconds but choose to speak only when the field is ready, the ones who get downloaded with visions at 2 a.m. and wake up knowing what must be done, even if no one else understands it yet. The ones who are recoding timelines simply by choosing integrity over influence, embodiment over performance, soul over strategy. Let me ask you something that might unlock your next level. What would you create if no one ever saw it? What would you give to the world if there was no applause, no reward, no recognition, only the knowing that it mattered? This is where the dark chosen ones rise, in the invisible, in the frequency fields that others ignore, in the subtle realms of emotion, intention, alignment. They build through presence, through devotion, through consistency. And because they're not distracted by the need to be seen, they move faster, deeper, quieter. Their work weaves its way into the collective like a secret frequency, activating others not through words, but through resonance, If you're one of them, you've probably felt the frustration, the ache of being overlooked, the sting of being misunderstood, the exhaustion of giving your heart to something no one seems to notice. But that ache is not a flaw, it's a signal. It's the evidence that you're not here to follow the rules of the old world, you're here to remember the laws of the original one. The earth before distortion, the self before programming, the truth before translation. And when you remember that, you stop chasing impact. You become impact. You stop trying to reach people. You start vibrating at a level where only the ready can find you. You stop trying to be seen, and in that surrender, you become unmissable to those who are truly looking. The future isn't being built in boardrooms. It's being built in bedrooms, in breathwork, in breakdowns, in quiet moments of clarity when a dark, chosen one decides not to give up, when they choose to keep going even though no one's clapping, when they choose to hold their frequency even when the world calls them crazy. Those moments are not small. They are everything. But the new earth doesn't need more influencers. It needs initiators. It needs those who can hold the dark while still choosing the light. Those who can stay grounded while channeling the stars. Those who don't need to be known to know they're needed. So, if that's you, if you've been building in silence, healing in solitude, creating from a place of soul rather than strategy, know this: you are not behind. You are ahead of your time. You are not invisible. You are underground. And when the time is right, what you've built in the dark will become the foundation of everything new. You are not lost, you are placed. You are not waiting, you are weaving. You are not small, you are sacred, and the world is already changing because of you.